And a 1, 2, 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TB&J podcast. Across from me is Troy Brittingham.
You are Jeff.
I sure am. And Chris Carroll is with us, everybody. Woo!
Yes, over here at the University of Washington.
Yeah, boy. Chris is back, and D is not. And
we alchemy turned D into Chris.
Alchemy?
Yeah.
Alchemy would be turning minerals into other minerals. This is transfiguration.
And
Get your schools of magic right, you fucking nerd.
Hold on. Is
Let
D
me tell
not
ya.
a gem?
That was a pretty good recovery, even though you fucked up. Theme song! TB&J! Did you know the reason that it says TB&J is the theme song is because that's the name of the podcast? TB&J!
You had a hard
Did you
time
know
getting
that's
through that
also
one.
the name of our names of our hosts?
TB&J! All right, everybody, we saw episode 4 of The Last of Us, and
Also,
what?
Spoiler warning.
Yes. So, D, I know you listen to all the podcasts you're not on because you're a fucking psychopath. But for everyone else listening, we are going to talk a little bit about video game spoilers for The Last of Us. These are not spoilers for future episodes. We obviously don't know those plots. These are spoilers for the video game, which, in all fairness, has been out for 10 years now at this point. If you don't know it and you've never looked into it, maybe that's your fault. I mean, it's not. I'm being a dick. It's not actually your fault.
Yeah,
Video games aren't
victim blame our audience.
Video games aren't everybody's medium, and there are plenty of works of art in the video game industry that fly under the radar. But we will be talking about video game spoilers in this episode.
That being said, the show sort of based on the game, so some stuff might pop up.
I mean, the show is very much almost mirroring the game in certain aspects. Well, we'll get to that. So first things first, thumbs up, thumbs down, Troy.
Thumbs up.
Chris.
Thumbs down.
Ooh.
Thumbs up. Oh my god, I'm surprised. Really? Thumbs down?
Well, actually, here, we should get into this. Chris, how have you felt so far about the first 3?
I fucking wept for episode 3.
If you didn't weep during episode 3, then your name is Ben Shapiro, or you're just a fucking
Can we
loser.
fucking talk about that shit?
Yeah, I will absolutely talk about this, Chris.
Troy, you
Jeff-
have the floor for
Jeff
exactly
looks-
2 minutes.
Jeff looks very upset about this.
I fucking hate Ben Shapiro so
No,
much.
It's okay. Well,
I know that
Ben
you...
Shapiro.
Here's the thing.
If you somehow stumble upon this, I want you to know that you have missed the point. You've missed the entire fucking point.
Yes, just like
This show is not a zombie show. There are zombies in it, sure, but
it's a
if
show
you
about
took
love.
out all the zombies, it would still generally be the same.
My favorite part
This
of...
show is about love.
It is about
In
love.
all
And
its forms, and what you will do to attain it, and what you will do to keep it. And I'm sorry that you are in a loveless marriage where your wife is super fucking dry for you, and
That's
you
right.
can't
He
get her
had the
wet.
wet-ass pussy
And
rant.
My favorite...
I feel so sorry for you, you fucking moron. Troy, please, go ahead.
My favorite part of his whole video is when he makes a whole case for forced breeding in the apocalypse. And talks
I missed
about
that one. What?
ad nauseum. He talks about it for a while and then mentions an episode of Battlestar Galactica, and he's like, yeah, actually, in Battlestar Galactica, which is the fucking nerdiest thing for Ben Shapiro's voice to say. He's like, he was talking about how, like, in an episode, they're like, oh yeah, there's an episode where they ban abortion because they need to perpetuate the human race. And, like, doesn't understand that, like, in the context of that episode, it was, like, not a good thing.
I don't understand why you subscribe to these hateful bastards.
I don't
know
subscribe to them.
I know you do this out of some sense of, like, irony and, like, look how funny these other people are. I will never understand that.
If it makes you feel any better, I do listen to people who listen to them for me, usually.
There are people in my life that also listen
You
to...
watch reaction videos of Ben Shapiro's stuff?
Sometimes, yeah.
I know people that genuinely, wholeheartedly listen to, like, Rogan and Tate, and I just...
Yeah, that I couldn't do.
I just don't give them the time of day.
Yeah, that I could not do.
Mm-mm.
I need...
Yeah, that's why
they're
I
also
moved away.
They're also
Because I can only stand to be near Jeff for like a couple minutes at most.
How did we get on this? We're talking about Last of Us. Can we please talk about the fun stuff?
Yeah.
Yes, please, please.
That's all we had. That's all we had.
Fuck, it isn't all we had. There's one more conspiracy thing, and then I'll drop it. So, Aaron Rodgers, NFL quarterback.
Oh, no.
The fuck?
He needs to make a decision about his future and whether or not it is in Green Bay. So he went on Pat McAfee's podcast.
This is not as side tangenty as you think it is, Chris. Don't.
And he said that he will make his decision after a darkness retreat in which he will go to a very small home, pitch black, no windows, curtains drawn, no light, and just stay there for 4 days. And he will...
Oh, no, this is a bad sign. This is what Kanye did. Kanye did this to write a whole fucking thing, and he came back
said
a
that
Nazi.
he knows people that have done this, and they've had great results, so he's going to do a darkness retreat, and then he'll make up his decision about his future.
Chris,
God, these guys are going into a fucking dark house. I've been living in a dark house all my life.
Chris, to clear
It's
up...
different when you're a professional athlete, I guess.
Chris, to clear up any confusion, Aaron Rodgers also went on a podcast about football, with another NFL quarterback, where they were going to talk about football, and the first thing out of his mouth was, do you believe 9/11 happened? And he was just like, do I believe that the plane hit the building? Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers responded with, you should look into that.
You've mentioned that on this podcast before, and every time you do, I die a little more inside.
I'm glad that I have encountered this for the first time. Aaron Rodgers, the fuck?
Let's talk about the good stuff, please.
Yeah, I think we're done now.
Yeah, please.
Chris, for anybody who hasn't signed off of this podcast, clicked on something else.
Yeah, if you haven't clicked away yet, please. Chris, you are the first thumbs down in 4 episodes, and I gotta know, what's up, man? What would you not like?
Up until this point, there have been deviations from the source material, and for the most part, they've all been better changes. Like Frank and Bill, 100% a better change than what it was in the game.
Fuck yeah.
Best episode of TV.
Best episode of TV. I think at this point we are starting to see a couple of key deviations away from the games as it relates to Joel and Ellie's relationship that I think is making a misstep, and I'm worried that they are rushing things, and I feel like they might fuck this up.
How so?
So, one thing that gets removed from the 3rd episode is that there is a situation in which Joel becomes basically helpless as a bunch of infected attempt to murder him, and Ellie is instrumental in saving him, and that is the first time that they start to bond and grow as in their surrogate father-daughter relationship. And we never got that because they had changed Bill and Frank's story, which is fine.
We got a facsimile when she saved his life in the laundromat at the beginning of this episode.
That is something that actually normally happens in the game as well, and they also changed that up a lot.
Oh, really?
Yes. A big thing that they change is that Joel is a lot more forgiving and downplays what had happened, and he seems remorseful that she has had to go through that. In the game, he fucking chastises her for breaking his rules, using a gun, and potentially nearly killing him. And
that is a big difference.
It's such a big difference that I think it changes a lot.
It very well might. You might be onto something there. I would also like to say that as we've stated before on this podcast, you weren't here for it, obviously. The original plan, and as far as we know, the plan still is to have the entirety of The Last of Us Part 1, the game, be Season 1, including the flashback DLC with Ellie and her friend in the mall, which, according to episode titles, should be Episode 7.
And how many episodes is it? 8?
There's 9 total.
9.
So in 9 episodes, they want to do the entirety of the first game. So if they kind of fast forward it a little bit to get to this point, which in the game takes place in Pittsburgh, the show this takes place in Kansas City, which didn't bug me at all. Fuck it. I'm completely fine with that.
That part doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they explain it as them needing to like film, and they filmed in Calgary, and it just looks more like Kansas City than it does Pittsburgh, which fine. And also in a show, if you gave this main character a car in Boston, do you really expect that he's going to get to Pittsburgh before they stop and encounter all this trouble? No, then if you're watching a show, you're going to be like, well, what the fuck? Why didn't he get further than that? So I'm completely fine with them going all the way to Kansas City. And even if you look at a map, and you realize that Kansas City is like a huge detour south and not at all on the way to Wyoming, they could be avoiding Detroit for obvious reasons. They could be avoiding like any sort of places that Joel's just like, nope, that's a hotbed of crime and terrible things. We're not going anywhere near there. It's like, okay, cool.
There's actually no zombies in Detroit. It's still just Detroit.
Oh, really? Detroit stayed Detroit, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if
the zombies did not last long.
Honestly, if it was like a matter of like, what city do you think would stay unchanged in the zombie apocalypse? My top two, swear to God, Detroit, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I firmly believe...
I'm saying Detroit and Trenton.
I'm sorry, you're mispronouncing that. It's Trenton?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Come on, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You lived on the West Coast
I moved out of the area.
Yeah, you lived on the West Coast too long, you lost your accent.
Yeah, listen to this guy say,
maybe I can say it now.
Yeah.
West Coast, best... Nope, still can't say it.
But no, I fucking Philadelphia is fucking gangster as fuck. Like, we climb street poles when the Eagles win a game. All right, there's no way.
Yeah, we already have zombies on Kensington.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Kensington and Aramingo is not a place you want to be as soon as it gets like mildly dark outside. Even when it's daylight, I avoid Kensington and Aramingo as best I can. It's just don't go there. There's nothing for you there. Don't go there. There's nothing for you there at all. I don't care.
Where the fuck were we?
Deviations from the game. You're upset that they're fast forwarding a bit of their relationship. You think it's gonna hinder the underlying stuff.
And with only 5 more episodes to go,
one of which is a flashback, at least mostly,
I don't see them like being able to get to the proper places in time.
Which
especially since if we're still going by like a similar timeline to the game, they still have 9 months left of story to tell.
They do. I don't believe they're going to leave this like weird autumn-ish that they're in. I think it's going to stay that kind of season for the whole show. At least maybe until the end. It might turn winter. I don't think they're going to really elaborate on the seasons as much as they did in the game, which is a shame. The seasons really did help highlight the story around it, and it also added like a nice backdrop, especially in the dead cold of winter when Joel's like gravely wounded and Ellie's off on her own. You're right. There's an awful lot of story to tell, and with the pacing they're doing, I am kind of, I wouldn't say convinced, but I'm getting more and more persuaded that Season 1 is going to be Last of Us 1 Part 1, and then Season 2 would be Last of Us 1 Part 2.
Interesting.
I'm getting more and more into that camp. I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not, but I do know they haven't even made it anywhere. The next episode is going to conclude their Kansas City adventures, and then they need to get to Wyoming and deal with his brother. And then from there, they need to get to the fucking lab, and that's at least another 2-3 episodes, and they've only got 4 to go, one of which is a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
So, like...
And the next one's going to probably just deal with the second half of this story.
Right, so...
If they skip the entirety of Winter and Ellie on her own with the group that she finds, I think the people that came to this show because of the game are going to be pissed. And rightfully so. That's a huge thing for Ellie.
It is a very huge thing for Ellie. When she kills that guy with the machete, it traumatizes her. And it was like a bonding moment for her and Joel as well. There is a lot of stuff that they need to cover, and they're running out of time to do it, which kind of cements my theory of this might be a Last of Us 1 Part 1 for Season 1. And then Season 2 would finish Last of Us 1. And then we would get Season 3 opening with Last of Us Part 2.
Did they say they were going to do more than 2, or did they only...
I mean, no. So far, it's only been renewed for a second season, but that renew came after Episode 3, so they were very, very confident. I suspect... yes, Chris?
Didn't Neil Druckmann say that Season 1 was going to be Last of Us Part 1?
That's the thing. That's
like
what they've
the first
said
game?
Since the beginning, is that the Season 1 would be the first game. And if it got renewed for season 2 would be the second game. Which initially I was like, oh, they've got 9 hours to tell the story from the game. That shouldn't go too badly. And now they're taking so much time, and rightfully so. Every episode so far I've really, really loved. They're doing a lot of time building the world and making us really care for these characters, especially with the addition of Kathleen and I don't remember the soldier's name.
I don't either.
That big bushy
They don't really say their names that much until like the after show.
The inside the
thing.
episode bit.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you caught that. Troy.
By the way, that soldier that is the voice actor of Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the soldier voiced that soldier guy with the big beard. He was Tommy's VA for the game. But yeah, I'm becoming a little less confident that they'll wrap up Last of Us 1 in the first season. Unless their version of wrapping it up is just getting to Wyoming. Because, like, they wrap up Kansas City, great, and then that's next episode. And then maybe they end that episode in Wyoming, meeting with Tommy. And no, I don't think they're going to end that episode with that, because they still got to get through the whole Henry and Sam plot line that they're clearly doing, because they met Henry and Sam at the end of this episode.
Okay, so next episode, Henry, Sam. Episode after that is Tommy and
episode after that's the flashback.
Group.
Episode 6, right? Or no, 7.
Is
So
that,
6
is
would
that
be
when
Wyoming.
they're doing the flashback?
So 7, the title of the 7 is the same title as the DLC with the flashback. I'll be able to find it in a second.
There is also the factor that they are. Do they have any sort of like restraint on how long they can make episodes? Because they can also it is streaming, so they could be like, this is a 2-hour long episode, which is not what they're gonna do probably, but they can at least push they've pushed like an hour 15 so far on some of them.
Yeah, I don't think any more are gonna be over an hour. And this is so fucking stupid because yes.
I think I know how they could do this. I think episode 5 is Henry Sam. Episode 6 is Tommy and his group. Episode 7 is part of the flashback, or rather, the entirety of the flashback, which is half the episode. The other half is setting up the cannibal group.
Yeah, and then you have episode 8 is the cannibal group, and then from there, I guess you can go to 9.
9, they continue on to the Fireflies.
Which, you're aware of how the game ends, right, boys?
I am.
Yes.
Correct.
Chris? Yeah.
Yes.
Full game spoilers. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while now, but also, like, this is the big one. The game ends... D, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I know you're still listening. The game ends with Joel killing the Fireflies to rescue Ellie. Because their plan was to take... part of Ellie's brain is infected. It's just not spreading. So they were going to cut her head open, take her brain out, and really like dissect it, examine it, look at it, and formulate a vaccine or a cure from that. And Joel just couldn't let him do it, so he just murders all of the Fireflies and takes her away. And then when she recovers, he lies to her face and says, no, there's dozens of people that aren't infected, and they gave up looking for a cure. It's impossible. And Ellie's just like, I don't believe you. And he's just like, I promise. And then it ends kind of uneasy in the game. Because she clearly doesn't believe him. But at the same time, she can't take anybody else's word for it. Mm-hmm. Nobody else is around. So it's oh God, it really breaks your heart. And if I was in Joel's shoes, I swear to God, I'd do the same fucking thing. I wouldn't let them kill my daughter, surrogate daughter or blood. I wouldn't let him. I wouldn't let it happen. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't. I couldn't.
Well, that's also sort of what the series is about. Is Joel's not that great of a guy. And also, it's a thing about love, whether or not he's a good guy or not. So,
and that's the whole thing. At the end of the show, it's going to be like, yeah, he is a great guy. He's saving who he can save. And he can save Ellie, even if it means killing a dozen other people, including 3 trained surgeons that are super rare this day and age.
That is also another good question of, like, how they're going to, like... if they're going to try to end off the show of just like, no, he is a good guy because like it's a Pedro Pascal show and like everybody wants to like Pedro Pascal.
You can like him when what's her name puts a golf club through his face.
Yeah, like exactly. But like it is like a thing, and I'm trying my best not to start any sort of debates here. But like something like a Solo or an Andor, people were afraid that they were gonna like make them like, okay, they're not like scumbags going into the movies that they go into, and Solo's like, no, he's actually a great guy, he's super cool, he's nice, and everybody loves him, and you're like, well, that's not really how Solo starts. And then how Han starts in the original trilogy.
Yeah, episode 4, he's a scumbag.
Yeah, and Andor, they do a good job of being like, no, he does suck, actually. He's a piece of shit. And then when he shoots a guy in Rogue One, you're like, okay, because he sucks. And
He shot a guy in Rogue One?
Yeah, in the very, very beginning. Another rebel guy that has information for him, he like shoots him in an alleyway because he's got like a bad leg and he can't escape with him. So like...
That's the character development I was looking for.
Like I said, I was trying to sidestep this. I was trying to get around it.
There's no debate to be had.
We've already had this conversation in text form a couple days ago.
It's been discussed in the podcast ad
Jeff's a
nauseum.
cunt.
But
I don't know if I go that far, but yeah, I suck. I'm wrong.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how willing they are to be like. And he's not a great person. Like I'm interested to see how far they go into that.
That sort of thing with Last of Us as a whole is that everyone is awful.
Yeah, Ellie's
everyone
not
sucks.
great. Like I know that this is like a theme of just like, yeah, you do what you gotta do to survive, and everybody sucks now.
Like even Tommy, who Joel's like, oh, he wants to play the hero. Like, he helped out with a couple of those ambushes back when he was working with Tessa and Joel.
Listen, sometimes you
like,
want to be a
he's
good
murdered
guy.
people.
You do some terrorism here and there. Like who amongst us hasn't?
Let he who hasn't cast the first stone.
Can I cast a second stone?
Can I go back and get more stones?
Can me and Chris throw the second stone at the same time?
Then it's not the second stone, unless you're both like holding hands with the stone in the middle. And you
What
just
if it's like a really big stone that requires the both of us to throw it?
Then you're not throwing it really at that point. I don't think it would get much air velocity before it just kind of...
What if we build a catapult?
No. Troy, please.
Trebuchet, come on.
Trebuchet.
The superior siege
Loser.
weapon.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
How foolish of me.
Foolish fool.
So instead of, shitting on the rest of the show, let me talk about the stuff that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah,
The
like
laundromat scene.
The
Phenomenal. The laundromat scene where they're fighting.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah, up until after that, when Ellie and Joel, don't fight, it's really, really good. And in case somebody missed it, Ellie fucking handicapped that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she like shoots him in the spine, basically, like real low.
Yeah, he wasn't getting up.
Well, he says, I can't feel my legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was, he should have
That
Barra
was
Gordoned him.
Mm-hmm.
That was excellently done, and I love that. It's just like a little detail that was there in the games that added to this.
It's also just like, this girl says that she has shot a gun before, or at least killed people before, and then she goes up to this guy, has him dead to rights, and hits him in the spine. You couldn't hit a vital organ? You couldn't have taken him out? Nope, you gotta hit him in the spine. And then Joel's gotta get up after being choked half to death and finish the job with a knife. You're gonna make him do the rest of the dirty work. It's like, it was kind of endearing almost, that she's just like so nervous and scared that she missed. She basically missed. She hit him in the spine, even though he was right there, point blank. And I've never fired a real gun in my life. I don't think I'd fare much better. I'm just saying it was kind of...
I've played a lot of Gears of War in my day, and I don't think that it's that much different.
You don't think so, huh?
No, I'm pretty sure I've pretty much got the handle on it.
My favorite depiction of a gun in media ever is Psych, when this old brazen lady is at the police department and she wants to fire Lassiter's Magnum revolver. And he's like, are you sure? This is a lot of gun. And she's like, it's fine. What's the worst that could happen? And she grabs it, and she's got a terrible posture. She pulls the trigger, and it flies out of her hand and just smacks against the wall behind her, and all the shells come out, and like the gun breaks into a couple pieces, and Lassiter just stares at her. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what would happen if you fired a Magnum and you weren't properly bracing yourself for the fucking recoil.
There was a video on Reddit that I saw recently of somebody at a firing range with a Magnum revolver, and he fires it off. It shoots upward back in his hand, points to his head.
No.
And a second shot goes off. It misses him, thankfully. But that's what can happen when you are not trained with a firearm. It's also why you cannot use a Magnum for your first gun.
Yes, I will say, while I've never fired a real gun, because we're not counting pellet guns or paintball or anything like that, my dad did teach me firearm safety when I was a kid. I do know my way around a gun, and I do know to, you never point it at anybody, even if you're sure it's empty. Even if you've watched somebody empty a gun, as soon as they hand it to you, you also make sure it's empty. You take the clip out, you open the chamber, make sure there's nothing in the chamber. A basic fucking common sense, And
Fun fact, if you have ever held a firearm and not taken a firearm safety training, you are a danger to yourself and literally everyone around you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Fucking the people that buy guns and don't learn how to use guns because they figure, yeah, you just point and shoot. No. Oh, my fucking God, no. You're the reason things suck in this country.
I don't know, Jeff. You're sounding pretty anti-American right now. I'm gonna have to make you take a step back.
I think we should tear down the Statue of Liberty and replace it with a statue of that sexy green M&M. I don't know where that joke was going. I pulled out the first talking point I could think of.
Yeah, that was the least. That was the farthest from a gun you could get.
Well, that's the point. It's like the liberal agenda.
I was like, the Statue of Liberty's green. What else is green? That sexy green M&M with her boots that make Tucker Carlson so horny.
They got rid of them.
Yeah, I know. Conspiracy time. I strongly believe this is just like
no more conspiracies.
No. I strongly believe that getting rid of all the M&Ms.
Bullshit, more podcast.
Hang on. I strongly believe getting rid of the spokes candies for M&Ms and having Maya Rudolph be their spokesperson is just a fucking bit. Getting ready for
I agree.
It's
actually.
a bit getting ready for a Super Bowl commercial.
I agree.
And then they're gonna bring them back.
I agree because I saw a fucking a Reddit ad that was talking about X M&Ms, and it was one of the M&M spokespersons. This is what I'm doing now that I'm not an M&M spokesperson, and I'm like, that's very
spokes
suspicious.
Candy.
I'm sorry.
Their pronouns are candy.
I forgot.
They're spokes candies.
You can cancel me now. It's fine.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's now the J podcast. I'll see myself out.
It's the DC&J. JCD. CD.
But now you're obligated to do all the
CDs,
DC
J's. Anyway, that was an appropriate response. This episode was all right. I like that they're elaborating on the group of raiders that Joel and Ellie encountered in Pittsburgh in the game, and they're giving them identities. I really like that it seems super culty, and this lady has an entire group of survivors, heavily armed, looking out for one man.
I kind of like her personality. She just seems like a liberal wine mom who's just sort of all right, everybody, and now we're gonna look for these people and just fucking kill them. And it's just what are you talking about?
Why?
Is it just me, or does she give you the vibes of that one cult woman in The Mist?
The Mist.
I have not seen it. I know what you're talking about, though. I haven't seen it.
You losers.
I'm sorry.
You know what she does give me vibes for is when I was a child in middle school, I used to watch 2.5 Men when it first started
is this
airing.
going?
No. So 2.5 Men when it first came out.
Is?
Yeah. So she's Charlie's neighbor who's obsessed with him and has all the ferrets. That's the same actress. Her name is Rose.
God, that show is not good.
Well, it's not good anymore. Originally, it was okay. It was stupid comedy that my dad and I could watch together.
I was never pro 2.5 Men.
No?
Yeah, once they cut that one guy in half, I was kind of out.
That's a Family Guy joke. You're late to the punch.
It's not really a Family Guy joke. It's literally anybody who comes up with a 2-second 2.5 Men joke.
Fair enough.
We all know that it's free game to steal from Family Guy.
That's true.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes,
so.
Of course.
I don't know if Seth MacFarlane cares.
I think there's some very famous Family Guy jokes that are you're stealing from Family Guy jokes. I don't think that qualifies.
No, because that was just a bit on the TV when Peter was watching TV. It was we now return to 2.5 Men. And it was just two guys, then half a guy on the floor screaming. And they're all screaming at him. And that was
Can we get back to The Last of Us?
Yeah, back to The Last of Us. This is why we need you here. We need you to keep us on track because we're fucking children and we all have severe ADHD and we need somebody to keep us on track. Last of Us is really good, you guys.
Yeah. So I will say this. I did like this episode. like the fact that they are willing to just like completely make up characters to like they talked about at the end of the episode where they said that it's like these people were just an obstacle in the game. It's just part of like level design. Now we're going to give them personalities and like an agenda and everything that I think I have not played the games. I have not watched the games. I know a little bit about how like I know like the big beats of like I know how the game ends. I know how the game starts. I know a few core details in the middle. But I am currently really, really buying their dynamic together. I think the joke book is the joke book in the game.
I believe so.
The joke book's a really good inclusion. And
diarrhea is hereditary, right?
That's the that's one of the best scenes in the episode. Is him actually like laughing is
also,
precious.
Fucking, he's deaf on his right side because of all the handgun firing he's had to do over the last 10 years of surviving. 20 years, actually. Like, fucking...
Is that not in the game?
I think it is.
That
but
is not
like,
in the game. No, it's not in the game because Joel has fucking superhuman hearing in the game. It's one of his abilities.
You're right.
Where he can go into like a listen mode and see people through. He's Daredevil.
Oh.
Well, they needed a game mechanic to let you see where the enemies are around the area. But they always explain that away with just good hearing. But like fucking the fact that he was going deaf because of all the fucking firearms and shit, I'm like, wow, that's something nobody thinks about. In an apocalypse, everybody's fucking deaf because everybody's been firing guns at each other for the last fucking 20 years.
Yeah, but the one thing I will give Chris though, to be fair, is I actually was thinking when I was like watching the episode and then like the days after, because I watched it when it first came out, that I might decide to give it a thumbs down because I'm like, yeah, there's more. Like I think this is the weakest episode that we've had so far. It feels kind of set up like all the cool stuff of this whole plot arc. I think is like the important stuff happened. Like Ellie aids in killing somebody. They have their whole relationship form more and more. It's not a filler by any means, but it's also it is the most like set up for another episode that we've had so far. And like that just kind of it was the only one so far where I've had moments where I'm just like, all right, let's pick up the pace a little bit. It is the shortest episode.
I agree with everything you just said. Mm-hmm. I'm giving that a pass only because I usually watch on Mondays the night after it airs. And in this case, and only this case, this episode comes out 2 days early because the Super Bowl is on Sunday.
Yeah.
So this episode, I'll watch it Friday. I'll be able to watch it live because I won't have to wake up at 5 a.m. for work the next day.
No, I totally agree. And the only reason I didn't give it a thumbs down is because I'm like, I just feel like that's disingenuous to how I actually felt about this. Like, I feel like I'd be giving it a thumbs down for the sake of giving it a thumbs down. I'm kind of glad that Chris did it, so I didn't have to. Not that I think Chris is disingenuous, but
So I didn't have to? Are you saying that you fudged the results?
Yeah,
thumbs are fucking sacred, you bitch.
Yeah, I stole this election.
Oh my god, the election
I
was
fudged
stolen.
my result.
Guys, it's time to February 7th this place.
The 7th.
Oh my god.
But I was trying
I actually fudged my result. I did love this episode.
Yeah, it's
but
this episode
there's some problems that I needed to address.
This
and
episode,
they're valid problems. I mean,
yeah.
I would also be a little concerned if they're not going to stay true to the game, especially knowing that they have such a short timeline to wrap things up in.
Yeah, this episode is the worst episode, not worst, but it's the least entertaining episode of this show so far. And by that I mean it's still better than 99% of TV at the moment.
Yes.
Even good shows.
What else is on TV, man?
Well, I'm just saying in general.
Who gives a fuck? It's not The Last of Us.
Right now, I don't know what's running, really.
That's the thing, like, I TV, I've only really cared about shows we cover and football. Football ends this weekend. Fucking go Birds. And,
God, football would be so much more entertaining if they release zombies onto the field.
Oh my
Jesus Christ.
But I'm saying, like, if you think about other things that we've covered, right? If you watched this episode or like something of this episode's quality in a different show that we've covered, like how many of them, like where there's like The Boys, there's like
If this
Invincible,
episode was
but,
like,
other
a
things,
Boba Fett episode, it'd be the best episode of the series.
100%.
Oh yeah,
And we liked Boba Fett more than most. We were the most
we
positive.
liked it. We didn't love it.
We were the most positive Boba Fett podcast on the internet. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And also with Pedro Pascal at one point.
We were also the most positive Lord of the Rings podcast.
We were also the most
last
positive
year.
Lord of the Rings. And yeah, the like if this was in an episode of any of those shows, not any of those shows, but like most of those shows, you were like, oh well, that's the best episode of the series.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with that. We were also the most positive Obi-Wan podcast.
Yeah.
Apparently, Obi-Wan sucked according to the rest of the internet.
Yeah, I feel like that's just sort of a Star Wars thing at this point. And it does have problems. Obi-Wan has problems. But it's...
Love and Thunder. There's a lot
Love
of
and
things that came
Thunder.
out recently the internet hated that we all were like, that
all
was fun.
All of Marvel Phase 4.
Wait, you guys liked Love and Thunder?
We liked Love and Thunder, yeah.
Were you not there?
Why?
Oh,
No, I wasn't there for that.
Listen to our podcast.
Listen to our own fucking podcast, Chris.
Absolutely not.
We
was fun.
I think we gave every Phase 4 movie a positive rating, and people were like, Phase 4 is like the worst thing ever.
Huh.
Because there's Wakanda Forever, there was Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
I thought
that
Wakanda was mid.
Sure, I mean, I liked it, but I can totally see that opinion.
I thought Love
Doctor
and Thunder
Strange,
had a
I know that we
serious
loved.
tone
Doctor Strange, we
hang
loved.
on. What was that, Chris?
I thought Love and Thunder had a serious tone issue where it couldn't decide what it wanted to be.
Oh, it does.
Much like this episode can't decide what it wants to be because we're supposed to cover The Last of Us.
So
Yes, let's get back to that.
Yeah, let's... Anything else to say about this episode that you're concerned about or that you loved particularly, Christopher?
Like Troy said, it's setting up for a lot of things. We've got a surprise waiting for us in that hole.
Yeah, this is the
crumbling
the
building.
most like to be continued episode they've done so far.
We get to see Henry. Oh, something about Henry and Sam is the character that play Henry's the kid, right?
Henry is the man. Sam is his little brother.
Okay. The actor that plays Sam is deaf, and
Yep.
I believe they are making it so that way Sam in the show is also deaf, because that would be weird for them to get a deaf actor to play a audible person.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that's going to be great, especially since we've seen a lot of deaf characters or sign language in recent media, and it's always been great. Mandalorian comes to mind, so I think that's going to be fantastic. Yeah, just
Cool.
It's setting
Awesome.
up a lot of things to be excited about.
Troy, final thoughts before we close out.
I mean, I sort of got him out just now. I think it's the most set-up-y episode. I'm excited for the next episode.
Which comes out 2 days early.
Mm-hmm.
Go Birds!
This show's great. This show's great, and I am excited for it to continue to be great.
All right, final thoughts. You'll probably hear from us again before the Super Bowl, but if not, fucking go Birds! We live in Philadelphia. This is a Philadelphia podcast. Fucking go Birds.
Also, I just
I
got
will
Is
be-
the Philadelphia team? Did they change their names to the Birds?
No, Chris, you know this. Come on.
Listen, I don't give a fuck about football.
That's fine. You don't need
I
to.
give a fuck about football snacks.
Here's what you need to know. The Eagles are going to fucking beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's going to be fucking pole climbing and rioting and horse shit eating all down Broad Street, baby. And I'm going to fucking be there. I've already got my plans for the Super Bowl. I'm going to Nick's on Cotman. Meet me there if you're listening, Philly. And we're going to fucking live it up. And then we're going straight from Cotman to fucking Broad Street. It's going to be a fucking awesome time. And then when the parade happens, I'm ditching work. I already got the okay from my boss, and I'm going to the parade. All right.
Nice.
I also
literally-
just got a text message from D telling us not to spoil the episode, so if we could go back on that and
Yeah, too late.
re-record that.
It's far too late for that.
Jeff, we're doing the episode again. Hit the theme song.
Yeah, no. It's 9 o'clock at night, and I still have to edit this and publish. I emailed my bosses, and I was like, hey, when the Eagles win, can I get off for the parade? Because I really want to go. And my boss's boss emailed back on the chain and said, LOL, I'm definitely going. I'll see you there. And I was like, yo, it's fucking dope. So I hope my owner just closes the fucking facility for the day so that we can all just go to the parade. We can make it a company bonding experience. It'll be great. Anywho, that was it. Seriously, fucking go Birds. I'm so fucking excited. They're my second favorite team, and I'm still fucking over the moon excited for this fucking game. Go Birds. Have a great night. We'll see you all next time when the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Unless we see you before then. I don't think we will.
I will be very excited to hear the tone of the next episode.
Guys,
you're not even an Eagles fan.
I am.
You like the other Birds team.
I'm a Ravens fan first and foremost, but the Eagles have always been my second favorite team. That's not even a bit.
Because if the Birds and the Ravens, if the Eagles and the Ravens get together, then it's the Joker colors, and you like Batman.
No, it's because I've always lived in Philadelphia, and I've never particularly hated the Eagles.
It's never been a problem for me.
Okay.